Welcome to lesson 1. In this lesson, we're going to be learning how to make a slip knot and how to make a starting chain. In order to crochet, these are the first steps you need to know to be able to make something out of your yarn and hook. Super simple. This is going to be a fairly short lesson, but what I want you to do is once you start getting the hang of the slip knot in the chain, it'll be important for you to practice making a starting chain. Some common mistakes that happen with beginners and sometimes myself is we can sometimes make our starting chain too tight or too loose. And the way you make your starting chain is going to affect the rest of your project. So once you get the hang of how to make a starting chain, I want you to practice making them as much as you can. Make them as long as you can. Make them in however many colors you want. Just start making some chains or lines, whatever you want to call them, and make sure that we practice getting them to the right tightness or the right looseness, however you want to look at it. So here in just a second, I'm going to turn the camera around and we are going to start on our slip knot and our starting chain. So here's how we make a slip knot. You're going to make sure your yarn, the short side is on the left side and the long side is on the right side. What we're going to do is really easy. I do it really fast, so I'm going to try and slow it down for you. We're going to take the short side and cross it over the long side like that. So it kind of looks like half of an infinity sign. So now you have a loop that you've made. And I like to put my fingers in the loop and grab the short side through the loop and pull. And your slip knot should be able to tighten and to loosen up. So let's do that again. Another way to know that you did it correctly is you should be able to pull your slip knot apart. So let's try that again. Your short side and your long side. Take your long side, or take your short side. Make a crisscross like that. Okay. Going to grab the short side of the yarn from the loop. Pull it through. Just like that. Let's try it again. You take your short side, crisscross it over the long side and to where you have a loop. See? Short side crosses over long side. Put your fingers inside of the loop, making sure your yarn is still crossed. Grab the short piece, but you want to make sure that you hold on to this little tail end here so you don't lose it. Pull it through the loop, and voila, there you go. Okay, so for our foundation chain, the very first thing we're going to need to do is make our slip knot. I know we did a lesson on this, but I'll go over it again in this one. So remember to have your short side on the left side and the longer part of the yarn, which is your working end, on the right side. Okay? Now remember, we're going to take our short side and cross it over the long side, that way, so we have a loop. See? And we're going to pull the short side through the loop that we made while we're holding on to it, so that way it forms a loop that we can tighten and that we can loosen. Okay, so let's get started. Let's use our 5mm crochet hook. We're going to put it into this loop here. Now something important is that you're going to want to keep the tail or the end closest to you, and we're going to pull it on our crochet hook. You're not going to want to pull your hook too tight because you want it to move back and forth on your crochet hook with ease, and you don't want it to be too loose like that, because then it's going to be really hard to work with and your project is going to be all loosey-goosey with holes that we don't want. So go ahead and tighten it up just enough. You can put it kind of right here on the crochet hook and tighten it, make it a little snug, but make sure, move it back and forth, and make sure that it glides smoothly. Okay, so to start our foundation chain, we're going to put the yarn in between our two fingers like this. We're going to put the working end, which is the yarn that's connected to the ball. We're going to put it through our two fingers like this. We're going to hold on to it, and we're going to make sure that we're not pulling it too tight, but that we're not leaving it too loose where it looks like this. We want it nice and straight. Next, we're going to hold on to the tail with our thumb and our ring finger. There's a few different ways that you can hold your yarn to keep what's called tension. You can experiment with that and figure out which way works best for you. If you don't know how to figure it out, you're more than welcome to just keep doing it like this. This is my favorite way to hold my yarn. To start the foundation chain, we're going to make one chain. To do that, you're going to take your hook, kind of make sure your hook part is facing down, and we are going to wrap our hook underneath the yarn, just like that. So we should have a loop, and we should have yarn wrapped around our hook, and then you're going to pull this through the loop that we have, just like that. So let's try it again. Remember not to, if you pull this yarn that's in between your fingers right here, if you pull it too tight, it makes the loop on your hook too tight. So that's a good way to know if you're holding it too tight or too loose. So we want to make sure it just moves back and forth pretty easily. So let's make another chain. You're going to wrap your hook under, or you can say wrap our yarn over. You can do that. And you'll pull it through the loop, just like that. Let's do it again. Wrap it under, pull it through. Wrap it under, pull it through. And the whole time you can hold on to this chain that we're making to make your work nice and secure. Let's do it again. Wrap it under, pull it through. Just like that. You see how it kind of looks like a braid? This is what we want it to look like. So let's make a few more. It's okay to start off nice and slow. As you get the hang of it, you'll be able to go faster. But what we want to make sure is the most important right now is that our foundation chain isn't too tight or isn't too loose. Okay, so this is what it should look like. And that's on the front. And this is what it should look like on the back. It's kind of bumpy. So you know it's the front side because it's smooth. And you know it's the back side because it's bumpy. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like if we make our foundation chain too loose. So here I've got a really big loop. I've got a lot of space in between the foundation chain and our hook, and that's just going to make our project super loose, and it's not going to look very good. I'm also not going to hold my yarn here very tight, just to show you what it would look like if we make it too loose. And it kind of feels funny too. It doesn't feel as secure. You see how I'm kind of just barely holding on to everything? I'm not really paying attention to how big my loop is that I'm pulling through. You see that? Let me make a few more so we can really get a good look-see at it. You see the difference? This is what our foundation chain should look like. This is what it looks like when it's way too loose. We have all kinds of holes, it's super stretchy, and it's not very even. Now let's see what happens when you make the foundation chain too tight. So let's pull it tight on our hook to where it doesn't move with ease very well, and we're gonna hold it super tight right here. Now, when it's too tight, it gets really hard to pull your crochet hook through. So if you're trying to crochet and you're struggling to get your hook through the yarn, that might be a good indication that it's too tight. Now, I had a little bit of a harder time making it tight because it's harder than making it loose. But if you can see it, it looks close to what it's supposed to look like, but it's a little bit smaller and it's super hard to work with. When it's too tight, the problem when you're making a project is as you crochet on top, your foundation chain will curve like this and it won't be even across the bottom. So we really want to make sure that we're making our foundation chain nice and even, not too tight, not too loose. So let's keep practicing that. We have just a good amount of tension in between here. We're holding on to our tail and we're making sure that we can move our crochet back and forth really easy. I'm just going to let you watch here for a second. I'll make sure and go nice and slow. I need to pull some more yarn out. All right, and that is how you make a foundation chain. So we have normal, too loose, and right here you can see the difference between my section that's too tight and my section that's just right. We will need to use this for every project that we make, so make sure you get good and practiced up on how to make a foundation chain. If you have any questions, you can message me in the community messaging and I will help you out as best as I can.